Hey kids, do you like unboxing videos? If you don't, then tough shit, because that's what we have today. So, trip to the flea market recently netted us this thing. The Super Game Entertainment System 16-bit. Play all your SNES favorite games. Comes with an AV cable, power adapter, and AV output. Gee, that doesn't look familiar at all. Anyways, Super Game Entertainment System, same thing, and same thing. Let's see what's in the back of the box. Contents: console, 2 original ports for the new system, AC adapter, original AV output. Tells you all the little pieces, and that is pretty much all you get. There's no copyright information, there's no sad onions or anything of the sorts. So that's kind of interesting, I guess. Anyways, let's see if we can raise this up a bit. There we go. Anyways, let's open this up like so. Let's see what's inside. An instruction manual. Super Game Entertainment System. The top. SFC SNES cartridges, reset button. Controller, alarm buttons. L and R buttons, D-pad, select start, operation buttons, blah blah blah. Front, controller slots, connect original or third-party controllers, SNES port. Anyways, I assume you people can read. And on the other side, it's pretty much the same thing. Anyways, it comes with 2 controllers. It comes with the Nintendo cable that you would find with the Super Nintendo, Nintendo 64, and GameCube. And yes, it's not HDMI, it's not high def or anything like that. So, and it comes with a power brick with that. I'm assuming that's for something. Anyways, the output, 2 controllers, and I'm already feeling the cheapness. In any event, let's pull this out. Let's do this in order, I guess. Let's pull out the controllers, and yeah, these are your mock controllers, and they feel, I'll give them credit for adding a pivot so it's not one whole button, but other than that, feel the cheapness, feel the nastiness. Fortunately, you have SNES ports, so if you have proper Super Nintendo controllers on hand, you could use those instead. So, yeah, that's a thing. That's going in the bin. That's also going in the bin. Everything goes in the bin. So anyways, let's look at the flop is opening up too, right? Yeah. Anyways, this is your Super Game Entertainment System. The cable, let's get that out of the way. Let's get this out of the way because we really don't need it. Yes. Now the more astute folks might recognize this because it looks like a Super Nintendo, the redesigned Super NES Mini model. As a matter of fact, I have one right here. Very much like identical twins. Except this one feels a bit cheaper, and actually this one's a lot lighter. This one has some weight to it. Nonetheless, it's pretty much the same thing. You got a power supply here, a power switch, reset button. Very rusty connector. And your Super Nintendo ports. And your cheapness here, your multi-out and your things there. So, on the bright side though, it doesn't have the hinges that the Super Nintendo has. And you see those plastic tabs there? So you could theoretically play Super Famicom games on this thing if you wanted to. Alright. So now you're probably wondering, I have this, why would I pick this up? First of all, it's an interesting piece of tat, and it was fairly cheap. But the one selling point to this is that unlike this, which is a straight Super Nintendo entertainment system that's smaller and stuff like that, this one has games built in. These are the games it has. I'll let you read that fast. Yeah. So, actually, since I have it on hand, this is my FC Twin, which also doesn't come with any games built in, but it does have an NES slot. And I bought this back in 2007, by the way. It still works, I still play with it. It's my go-to clone system of choice, even though the compatibility isn't quite up there. In any event, this supposedly has games built in, so I'm going to hook it up. I don't know if I want to actually put in any SNES games in there, but I don't know. We'll hook it up, we'll see what it looks like, and probably regret it. Okay, so I've hooked up the power supply over to my power bar, and the AV cables hooked up to the DVD recorder so I can record some footage. And we're going to see if this thing includes some games, and we're doing this in camera for now. Like so. Good sign, good sign, good sign. Display, look at all the dust. There we go. That's what we have here. 30th anniversary. So we have Super Metroid, Super Mario World, Street Fighter 2 Turbo, Secret of Mana, Tetris Attack, bum 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 bum. We're not going to go through all these games. Chances are you know what they look like. And if you don't know what they look like, well... Anyway, Okay, so we're going to fade out the live audio and we're going to go for some pre-recorded footage and pre-recorded audio that sounds like it was recorded in 3 in the morning. That's probably because it was, but let's get to it. The Super Game Entertainment System is a Super Nintendo clone that comes with 64 built-in games, uses SNES controller inputs, as well as Nintendo's proprietary AV output that was used for the Super Nintendo, Nintendo 64, and GameCube consoles. It is, for all intents and purposes, a bootleg Super Nintendo 2 with the serial number filed off. Despite this, however, the video quality is not fantastic. There's a lot of distortion on screen, the colors come off a bit too bright,
There's quite a bit of noise and artifacting on screen and a bunch of other technical jargon that makes me seem smarter than I actually am. Just for comparison's sake, here's Super Mario World being played on my old FC Twin clone system, and the video quality is much closer to what you get on the Super Nintendo, though not quite perfect. As for the games themselves, you have a rather nice selection of games, including some notable Nintendo titles like Super Metroid, Super Mario World, Super Mario All-Stars, the various Donkey Kong Country games, and the like, which sounds good on paper, but there's a couple issues in regards to the performance of these games. First off, there's no battery backup, so you can't save any of your progress, which makes some of these titles rather unplayable in this format, such as those aforementioned Nintendo games. The other issue is that the games aren't replicated properly. In addition to the video output not being quite up to par, there's some programming or visual glitches that take place. This includes the flickering status bar in Super Metroid, the invisible invaders in Space Invaders, and some distorted graphical elements in games like Super Turrican 2. Now, to be fair, some glitches are quite common with older SNES clone systems like the FC Twin, but even the FC Twin ran Super Metroid way better than this console did, and the FC Twin is over 10 years old. And before anyone asks, it's not just the built-in versions of these games that present these issues, they're even prevalent on the cartridge versions. Speaking of the cartridge versions, the Super Game Entertainment System plays Super Nintendo and Super Famicom game packs, just not all of them. I tried a couple games that had special chips in them like Doom or Street Fighter Alpha 2, which do work on the FC Twin rather well I think, but won't run on the Super Game system. However, it did run Mega Man X2, which had its own special chip, though I'd imagine issues would pop up as you play farther in the game. I didn't try as many game packs as I would have liked, but I have to assume the game compatibility list on this thing is comparable to the older SNES on a chip clone systems. So I'm guessing something like Super Mario RPG wouldn't work on this thing, but even if it did, you wouldn't want to play it on this system, and I would advise against doing so for one simple deal-breaking reason. The Super Game Entertainment System kills your saved games. I tried testing my Super Mario World game pack on this thing, and when it loaded up, all my save slots were empty, which wasn't the case before since I had at least one save with 96 exits. Now at first I assumed the battery had died, and truth be told I've had that happen with a couple games I owned, so I tried playing a brief run of Super Mario World on my FC Twin, I saved my game, turned off the console and back on again, and as you can see I have 2 exits under my belt. But when I plugged it back into the Super Game System, my 2 exits that I had cleared were wiped out. So I found myself replaying Super Mario World to reclaim my lost progress and, rebuild my save file, which isn't necessarily a bad thing since it's such a damn fine game, but it did confirm my suspicion that this thing eats your saves on whatever cart you might plug in, which explains why I didn't test as many carts as I would have liked, and which also kills any value this would have had as an aftermarket SNES clone system. Not that there was much value to kill to begin with, but nonetheless. As far as the included controllers are concerned, they're the cheap aftermarket variety where on occasion if you're moving left or right on the D-pad and you nudge your thumb downwards or upwards, you'll go downwards or upwards. Otherwise, they work well adequately enough, but aren't the most comfortable to use, and after a while my hands were getting tired of holding these things. Again, you have the inputs so you could use your own proper SNES controllers, but then again if you had proper SNES controllers on hand, then chances are you also have a proper Super Nintendo or superior clone system to use them on. And now that I've bared my soul, so to speak, let's wrap this up with some final thoughts.
So that was the Super Game Entertainment System, Super Nintendo clone system, and that is a boo-boo, and so is this a boo-boo, and it has nothing to do with this, I promise. Also, this cable is a camcorder cable because I'm out of batteries. Yeah, so they tried to replicate the visual aesthetics and the inputs, so to speak, of the redesigned, miniaturized the second model Super Nintendo, and basically does not have the functionality of said system. Has 64 games built in, but the quality of the games being played are comme ci comme ça. The video output is comme ci comme ça, and look, I'm gonna level with you. I'm gonna really level with you here. The 64 games, it's a nice collection of 64 games, but there's no battery backup on this thing. So a lot of those games are pretty worthless because you can't save. I want to get back to that one point later on because I didn't figure that one out. This is one, but let me push that aside for now. This thing has Space Invaders. It gives you Invisible Invaders, and I tried this out on this thing, and it also gave me Invisible Invaders. So whether it's got nothing to do with the games itself, it's the hardware. So the hardware, the cloning performance, so to speak, is not very good. And it's not going to be, it's nowhere near, as far as playing all your SNES favorites, no, that's not happening. It's obviously never going to reach the standards of the more field programmable stuff like the Super NT and maybe even the Super Retron, but even on the composite level, this FC Twin that I bought close to 11 years ago outputs picture way the fuck better than this thing, and this thing uses standard composite. No, so... And before anyone asks, no, I didn't try the actual Nintendo cables, because I'd like that stuff to be in one piece, if you don't mind. There's no markings on this thing. No copyrights or anything like that. There's no... It's... Yeah, this is the... Here's the deal breaker, though. Alright, the 64 games, not fantastic. Not great, not fantastic. The quality of the games, but they're still somewhat playable if you have proper Super Nintendo controllers. Look, the... where is it? God damn. Fidgeting all over the place. Alright. These controllers, they're not great. They're not fantastic. If you want to crouch, you just gotta... You don't even need to go down. You just nudge the right thing down, and you're crouching. It's not the best quality. There's a pivot, at least. It's... okay, not a particularly good one. It's not a good controller. Whatever. Anyways, this would have gotten a pass, despite the poor video quality and stuff like that. It's sort of like a cheap gimmick thing. Here's what killed it for me. I wanted to try out actual cartridges of this thing. So I tried Super Mario World. I popped this in, and when I loaded up, all my saves were gone. And I know there were saves. Because I had a full, complete game where I had all 96 exits saved up. So, first off, I thought it was the battery. So, I played it on this, and I think I'll have like a video in the middle. First video, I'm playing it on this. I'm playing a quick level. I'm saving my 2 levels. So I saved my game, my new game. This thing eats your saves. This thing eats your fucking saves. I played a quick game on here, on the FC Twin. I tested it to see if it was the battery. It wasn't the battery. The battery was A-okay. And then I hooked this thing up. I plugged this in here. This thing eats your fucking saves. And that pisses me off. Thank fuck I didn't put this in, because I had a full game on here too, and if this went bye-bye, that's the deal breaker for me. Mind you, there's a lot of deal breakers with this. The video quality isn't good. The hardware is subpar. And like I said, I only bought this as a lark, but I'm not going to keep this. I'm probably... You know what? I'm going to give it to my buddy who gave me that Genesis flashback thing, because... schlock for schlock, but I'd imagine he'd still be getting a bum deal out of it, because this kills your fucking saves. And I thought it was a battery problem. Turns out it wasn't. This... Yeah. So, overall, if you want to play your old Super Nintendo game cartridges and you don't want to make the jump to HD just yet, get a proper Super Nintendo and just be done with it. Hell, I'd say this is better than this thing. And this is 11 years old and it still works, and it outputs way better than this thing. Tabernacle. That's sad. That's fucking sad. So I'm gonna pack this up. I'm gonna give it away, and I don't know. Maybe I'll toss in. I got a couple spare games I could give them, so or something. I don't know. So. Most of you probably saw this coming, that this wasn't worth a damn, but there you go. Anyways, I'm done. Good night.